Torrential rains have pounded the densely packed city of Hong Kong, causing widespread flooding. Transforming streets into rivers and submerging dozens of vehicles, shopping malls and metro stations. Hong Kong, the Chinese Special Administrative Region, saw the highest rainfall since records began 140 years ago. Just across the border in southeastern China, the tech hub Shenzhen recorded the heaviest rains since 1952. On the 12th of September, as many as 3,000 people have died and 10,000 are missing in the massive floods caused by Storm Daniel that swept away parts of eastern Libya. Catastrophic rain have lashed the central Greek region of Thessaly, triggering landslides, collapsing roads and bridges, and severing water supplies. Up to 800 millimeters of rainfall in 24 hours, which is more than a year's worth of rainfall, inundated the flat terrain in central Greece. Hail and more than 300 millimeters of rain were dumped on the Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul in less than 24 hours. Triggering floods and landslides and leaving thousands homeless. In the month of July this year, rivers overflowed, hillsides collapsed as heavy amounts of rain were recorded in parts of Kyushu Island in Japan. Roads and power lines were cut and thousands were ordered to evacuate as the downpour continued. In the month of July and August, the ruthless monsoon brought many states across northern India to a standstill. Days of downpours washed away vehicles, demolished buildings, and destroyed bridges in the northern Himalayan state of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. At least 200 people were killed. Floods can surge all year round in every part of the world. After a season of record heat waves, floods usually get exacerbated by the high temperatures, baking the ground and making it less able to absorb water. So what really causes floods, and how does climate change affect floods?
Overall temperature on the Earth is rising. And with a higher temperature of the air, the air can contain more water. And then, so if there's a rain coming down, then it can be more intense. And it's also combined with the effect that the weather systems are moving more slowly And that also has to do with, for instance, changes in the jet stream. The water is concentrated in a limited area, and so you see that all the water is coming down, which used to be more spread over an area, which used to be less intense, and now it's coming down in a smaller area with a much more intense, with higher intensity. That's what's happening all over the world in different countries.
On the 8th of September, record-breaking rainfall in Hong Kong caused widespread flash flooding across the financial hub. Videos on social media show the rain, turning streets into raging rivers, flooding shopping centers and public transport. People were seen climbing onto cars and other elevated platforms to escape the waters, which rose several meters high in some areas. A day before, on the 7th of September, authorities issued the black warning due to rainfall exceeding 70 millimeters an hour. The Hong Kong Observatory later reported an hourly rainfall of 158.1 millimeters, the highest since records began in 1884. The city's Cross Harbour Tunnel, a key route connecting the main island to the Kowloon Peninsula in its north, was inundated. More than 200 millimeters of rain was recorded on Hong Kong Island, Kowloon, and the northeastern part of the city, a total that exceeds the amount the entire city typically receives. The rain also triggered landslides in Hong Kong's mountainous areas, blocking some highways and rendering people helpless. The 77-year-old Chu lives in the village of Ping Che, located in the northeastern part of Hong Kong's new territories. Chu works as a beekeeper. His 2-decade-old private beekeeping farm has suffered devastating losses as record rainfall drenched the Asian financial hub of Hong Kong. He gazes at his drenched beehives with a helpless sigh.
The rainfall this year was particularly intense, fast, with a large volume, and it lasted for a long time. Flooding has occurred in the past, but not for such a prolonged duration. Today's weather is very hot, and even a brief task leaves you sweating and completely soaked.
Among other businesses counting their losses is a pig farm in the new territories. Owner of the pig farm, Tse, is now considering closing his decades-old family business after losing more than a third of his 3,000 pigs.
I was just waiting upstairs for 5 hours. After the water level went down, I came to see how many pigs I had lost. All gone. I couldn't even shed a tear after losing a few $1 million.
Many businesses in Hong Kong now face an uncertain future after a storm triggered by Typhoon Haiku dumped record rainfall in the area.
So when you have favorable weather conditions, for example, let's say there was a tropical cyclone, in this case that dumped that much rain in Hong Kong. So when you get a favorable weather pattern or a favorable weather condition, what then happens is that because we have emitted a lot more greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so that has increased the capacity of the air to hold water vapor. So the air is now in a position that it can hold more and more water vapor than what it used to do in the past. And simply because more and more water vapor is available, so when you get the favorable weather pattern, like a low pressure system or a cyclone, then that amount of water vapor is just going to get released. And when it releases, it gets released in the form of precipitation, that is in the form of rainfall. And when this happens, What basically is happening now is that these, intense spell of rain is just a bit of a problem, because if you're going to get rain that is distributed well in time, like you don't get something like 158 millimeter in just 1 hour, which is what we have seen in Hong Kong.
The extreme weather also brought chaos to the nearby southern China. The city of Shenzhen, across the border from Hong Kong, reports its heaviest showers. A rainfall log showed 465 millimeters of rain fell in Shenzhen over a 12-hour period, the highest since records began in 1952. Hundreds of flights were suspended in the wider Guangdong province. Local authorities advised residents in low-lying areas to consider evacuations. On the night of the 7th of September, Shenzhen discharged water from its reservoirs. Many Hong Kongers believe this exacerbated the city's flooding. The very next day, Security Chief Chris Tang declared the discharge had no impact on the city's floods, and the action was safe for both Shenzhen and Hong Kong. This isn't the first time that a typhoon has wreaked havoc in southern China. In the year 2017, Typhoon Hato, a powerful tropical cyclone, struck southern China, including Hong Kong and Macau. It left a trail of death and destruction in the region, claiming at least 12 lives and injuring over 150 others. The destruction led businesses and schools to close for days. Gusts of up to 168 kilometers per hour brought flying debris, tearing down trees and scaffolding and breaking construction cranes. Power transmission facilities suffered heavy losses, disrupting electricity supply to 1.91 million households. Authorities were quick to take action. The government evacuated 26,817 people to temporary shelters. As of the 13th of September, 5,000 people in Libya have lost their lives due to floods. The Mediterranean storm Daniel caused devastating floods that swept away entire neighborhoods and wrecked homes in multiple coastal towns. Much of Derna, a port city in eastern Libya, which has about 100,000 residents, is underwater after 2 dams and 4 bridges collapsed. The flooding has led to a complete break in communications and cut off internet access in Derna. Rescue teams struggled to retrieve many more bodies from the horrific deluge. Libya has also declared 3 areas in its eastern Cyrenaica province as disaster areas due to the floods. Authorities have asked for international help, citing a state of extreme emergency. Schools and stores have been closed and a curfew has been imposed. Storm Daniel has also battered central Greece, leaving villages almost completely underwater and prompting the government to deploy armed forces to help rescue residents from the worst hit areas. The cleanup task in the Thessaly, the administrative region of Greece, comes as health officials warn of infectious diseases that might break out as a result of dead livestock scattered across devastated sections. The floods have caused damage to Greece's central farming belt. The floods destroyed homes and left thousands of households without power and water for days. In the city of Volos, damaged cars and flooded streets were seen after torrential rains hit Greece.
It was raining non-stop for 24 hours and the amount of water was unbelievable. I'm 44 years old and I've never seen something like this before.
"15 people died in the deluge, while several thousands were rescued in a major evacuation effort that included the use of helicopters. An extratropical cyclone in southern Brazil caused floods in several cities, killing at least 31 people and leaving more than 1,600 homeless. More than 60 cities have been battered by the storm. Search and rescue teams focused around the Taquari Valley, about 150 kilometers northwest of the state capital, Porto Alegre, where most of the victims and damage were recorded. Videos showed families on the top of their houses pleading for help as rivers overflowed their banks. Some areas were entirely cut off after wide avenues turned into fast-moving rivers. In Mucum, a town of 5,000 people, hundreds had to be rescued from their rooftops as the town was completely flooded. Heavy rains have devastated Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul state. The death toll has climbed up to 39. Standing atop the ruins, Miguel Rutigliano Bieleschi discovered clothes belonging to his wife and children who perished in the tragedy.
These are clothes of my 3-month-old child Miguel, and this is my wife Yasmin's dress. I only have these left from them now. Due to the negligence of not aiding people and not having come when they had pledged they would bring us help, they ordered me to wait inside the house. They gave me false expectations and now I only have this.
Miguel is his family's only survivor. After their home was flooded, Miguel and his family climbed onto the roof, from where they pleaded for help, but to no avail. In July, heavy rainfall in southwestern Japan caused devastating flooding and mudslides. It left at least 6 people dead, 5 missing, and 19 injured. Some parts of Fukuoka received more than 600 millimeters of rain, which is more than the area would usually expect for the whole of July. The Japan Meteorological Agency warned residents in Kyushu, one of the country's 4 main islands, to stay alert for more landslides, a common hazard in mountainous areas after heavy rainfall. In most of Japan, the rainy season lasts from the beginning of June to mid-July. The heavy downpours sometimes result in flooding and landslides. Homes are often built on plains at the bottom of hillsides in the mountainous country, which is why landslides represent a serious risk. In 2021, a landslide in the hot spring resort of Atami killed 27 people, and in 2018, floods and landslides killed more than 200 people in western Japan during the rainy season.
And so here we are, Burning Man.
Many countries around the world are grappling with intense rainfall. This month, thunderstorms over southern Nevada caused flash flooding across the region, swamping the Las Vegas Strip and turning one of America's biggest and most popular counterculture events, Burning Man, into a muddy mess. The festival is a week-long desert event focused on community, art, self-expression, and self-reliance. Held in northwestern Nevada, a temporary city erected in the Black Rock Desert. The torrential rainfall whipped up thick clay-like mud that was tough to walk or bike through. It led 72,000 festival goers, or burners as they call themselves, stranded. Thousands of cars lined up on the 8-kilometer dirt road leading to the nearest highway, all waiting to leave. It took 5.5 hours to clear up. Tempers soared and one death was reported in the Black Rock Desert. Floods are the most frequent type of natural disaster and occur when an overflow of water submerges land that is usually dry. Several main ingredients contribute to flood development: heavy rainfall, rapid snowmelt, or a storm surge from a tropical cyclone or tsunami in coastal areas. Flooding can also happen in areas with no nearby bodies of water. Flash floods in particular can develop within hours of heavy rainfall. Experts say climate change has increased the intensity of tropical storms, with more rain and stronger gusts, leading to flash floods and coastal damage. Other factors, such as urbanization and land use planning, also contribute to flooding.
What is happening is that, we have never designed, let's say, our houses or metro stations or train stations according to something like this, like, the example that we saw in Hong Kong, 158 millimeter in just an hour. So it's just not designed for that, which means that we would be in a situation where even if we improve our construction, stop all these illegal activities, then still there would be an impact of extreme weather event, but we would still be able to mitigate that impact compared to what is happening right now.
Intense rainfalls have become a constant fixture all across the world. Unplanned urbanization in the backdrop of climate change has worsened the situation. These frequent flooding events have demonstrated the vulnerabilities of our cities. While no one can stop these torrential rains, the widespread damage can certainly be reduced.
The image of the motorbike couldn't withstand the pressure of the floodwaters. Many cars were heavily damaged due to the hailstorm. The People's Bridge couldn't bear it either. Welcome to the most devastating flash floods of all time. On December 17, 2022, a vicious storm accompanied by flash floods and landslides descended upon the regions in Indonesia, bringing destruction and unimaginable disaster. Initially, the areas endured a turbulent day as the malevolent storm attacked. In West Java Province, Cianjur Regency and Sumedang Regency bore the brunt of terrifying flash floods and landslides on Saturday. The sub-districts of Sukaranga and Simagung became victims of this devastation. Not only were there flash floods and landslides, but also a powerful storm struck the city of Tangerang in Banten province. This storm caused horrifying devastation, damaging buildings and uprooting trees. This calamity marked one of the darkest days in history in Indonesia. The storm made landfall with horrifying force, causing widespread flooding throughout the entire region. However, what's particularly devastating is the impact on the two villages of Klambu. The Regional Disaster Management Agency of Groningen Regency issued a warning that this flash flood event is a result of intense rainfall in the Klambu district and surrounding areas. Despite their efforts, vehicles struggled to navigate through the raging waters, ultimately coming to a standstill. The road transformed into a river, sweeping away everything in its path, including valuable belongings of the local residents. The motorbike couldn't withstand the force of the rushing water, causing the driver and the motorcycle to fall down. Fortunately, bystanders arrived in time to provide assistance. The pedestrian bridge used by residents couldn't withstand the force of the floodwaters either. The vehicles, once accustomed to cruising along beautiful roads, are now being swept away by furious floodwaters. The sight is truly surreal, as people must find ways to keep themselves away from the towering flood, often perched atop their own vehicles in a bid to protect their lives. The prolonged storm has unleashed an unforeseen catastrophe, claiming the lives of at least 90 people, with 70 others still missing. Thousands of individuals have been forced to abandon their homes and seek safety amidst the chaos of nature. Typhoon Haiku has wreaked havoc on Taiwan, making a direct landfall on the island and striking sparsely populated mountainous regions in the southeast before advancing southward. Taiwan's Minister of Economic Affairs reported that over 260,000 households have lost electricity due to the terrifying force of the typhoon. The China Meteorological Administration predicts that Haiku will continue its trajectory, making landfall along the border between Guangdong and Fujian provinces in China. The weakening of the typhoon is expected to occur on Tuesday morning. Images depict roads inundated with fallen trees caused by powerful winds, resulting in severe damage to numerous vehicles. The typhoon also toppled a mobile phone tower in the city. Tremendous force of heavy rain and rapid winds has severely restricted visibility, creating hazardous and challenging conditions for daily life. Thousands of people have had to evacuate their homes, and the vehicles have been swept away by the floods as the winds from Typhoon Haiku have now weakened. All vehicles had to come to a halt in the face of the ongoing challenges. On September 11, 2017, a terrible disaster struck in central Laos when hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of mud water poured down into 8 villages. This incident occurred following heavy rainfall that caused the reservoir of the Nam O Dam at the source to overflow. The sight of local residents fleeing the horrifying floodwaters left everyone in awe. Even vehicles had to hastily move as they realized the impending danger. However, despite their utmost efforts, all attempts became futile as they couldn't match the speed of the power of this torrential flood. The video captured by a witness shows cars being swept away by floodwaters on residential streets. The floods have resulted in property damage and hundreds of people are believed to have been evacuated, but there are no immediate reports of casualties. Hong Kong experienced widespread flooding on Friday, September 8th, following the city's report of the highest hourly rainfall ever recorded in its 140-year history. Traffic came to a standstill and shops were inundated after the storm. Basements and roads were submerged in water. The government closed schools and instructed workers to stay home. The most severe hailstorm in a century has plunged Tashang County, Guangzhou Province, southwestern China into chaos and devastation. Described as a natural disaster, this hailstorm lasted for about 30 minutes and had hailstones with a diameter up to 7 centimeters, causing unbelievable horror. The consequences are not only the damage caused by the hail to cars, but also the economic destruction of the county. Initial estimates suggest direct losses accounting to around $2.3 million US. Every corner of the area is riddled with holes, posing unimaginable challenges for the residents in the aftermath of this horrendous hailstorm. Farmers also suffered significant losses due to the hailstorm. Entire houses, factories, and even ancient trees were all ravaged by the hailstones. The vehicles on the road became targets for thousands of hailstones. While some of the hailstones were small in size at times, they fell regularly and formed a dense layer of hail. Some even shared that these hailstones were the size of ping pong balls, large enough to cause serious consequences. Streets were submerged in hail with a thickness of up to 20 centimeters. Furthermore, this storm flooded roads, leaving many vehicles stranded. Meteorological experts caution people not to engage in outdoor activities in open areas during this time, as they be mindful of the risks of lightning strikes. A flash flood is a rapid or extreme surge of water or currents in a stream or waterway that begins within 6 hours of an event, like heavy rain, dam failure, etc. Flash floods pose risks to people, property, and the environment by combining the power and availability of water with everyday life. Come see the top 10 brutal power of flash floods and terrible scenes caught on camera. As the climate changes and glaciers melt, a little-known threat lurks in the high mountains: flooding in glacial lakes. These events happen rapidly, releasing huge amounts of water with little or no warning. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan is a country in South Asia. Pakistan has a coastline of 1,046 kilometers or 650 miles along the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman to the south. Inside North Pakistan is the story I want to talk about. On May 7th, 2022, a bad thing happened. The Hassanabad Bridge in northern Pakistan collapsed after a heat wave melted a glacier, releasing a huge amount of water into the streams and surrounding areas. Video of the bridge collapse was captured on camera. Unusually record-high temperatures in Pakistan have melted glaciers in the Himalayas, rising water levels causing flooding in northern Pakistan. Heavy rains and flash floods have damaged many houses, roads, and belongings of the people of this country. The 2022 floods have damaged most water systems in the affected areas, forcing more than 5.4 million people, including 2.5 million children, to rely solely on polluted water from ponds and lakes. Chongqing, one of China's most developed cities and home to more than 30 million people, located at the confluence of 3 rivers, it was once a transportation hub between North and South China. And this is also the place that suffered the worst flood in China in the past 10 years. Heavy rains since July 3rd are believed to have caused much disturbance in central and northern regions of China. July 4th in Chongqing City, heavy rain disrupted the Sibiu rail line on Tuesday. Flooding also inundated some houses in urban area, forcing many people to leave their homes. A 400-year-old bridge was swept away by flash floods due to the rainstorms in Changchacha City, Hunan Province, central China. Disaster in Michigan, USA. Unusual spring rains heralded impending disaster pouring into lakes until the century-old Edenville Dam couldn't stand it any longer. When the dam broke, streams flooded in, damaging a second dam, the Sanford, and forcing 11,000 residents to flee the Midland area.
There it goes.
The water tore through buildings, broke roads and bridges, damaged or destroyed some 2,500 properties, and caused pollution concerns as it swept through chemical plants and hazardous waste sites. It also submerged downtown Midland, a city of 40,000 people, under nearly 3 meters of water. The disaster on May 19th and 20th, 2020, caused at least $175 million in damage and left 2 empty lake beds. A known incident? They have long warned that climate change and increased runoff from the population growth are putting greater pressure on poorly maintained dams. What happened in Michigan, they say, could happen to many other aging dams across the United States or the world. Massive floods swept through the Turkish capital Ankara. Some tunnels were flooded, and traffic disruptions occurred on many roads and avenues. In the Altındağ district, windstorms also broke building windows and damaged mosques. Recently, on June 3, 2023, Ankara was subjected to heavy rain causing extensive property damage. Flood water flooded this apartment building and then submerged a nearby road. People are asked to be careful about